So the work of Remake Learning really began by convening a group of educators, but also technologists and artists and designers and others who are beginning to think differently about learning. It's a small group of people who began to adopt modern learning pedagogies like STEM and STEAM learning, youth voice and youth media, maker-centered learning, technology-enhanced learning. And it really, over the course of nearly 15 years, has snowballed to include schools, museums, libraries, early learning centers, out-of-school time programs, higher education and industry, such that we now have this remarkable network supporting our region. It's a network that some schools or organizations maybe avail themselves of 1 or 2 opportunities a year, maybe a grant, maybe a publication, and others avail themselves of 49 opportunities during the course of the year. It's a network that we talk about as engaging and igniting relevant, engaging, and equitable learning in support of young people navigating rapid societal and technological change. And as we think about access and equity, we're really focused in our region on learners of color, learners in poverty, rural learners, learners with disabilities, and girls in STEM. It's a network involving thousands of educators, nearly 600 organizations at this point, and has redesigned all sorts of learning spaces and curricula, provided dozens and dozens of peer learning opportunities all across our region. That's what the dots on this map indicate. It's a network that has distributed millions of dollars in grants, but oftentimes small amounts of grants, a few $1,000s that maybe allow a librarian to work with a designer in a new way, or an educator to work with a technologist in a new way. It's a network that has pulled together working groups across our region so that clusters of individuals representing myriads of organizations can focus together on computer science or computational thinking and learning, can focus on the future of work, can focus on STEM and STEAM learning, and focus on the things that really are core to their work. We've tried to do a lot of work both locally and with partners nationally and internationally to document this work in a way that's both instructive to ourselves and instructive elsewhere. And increasingly, as we work with educators and learning allies, really finding ways to connect directly with parents, families, and caregivers. It's what you're doing so brilliantly during Learning Days in Christchurch, and it's what we try and do through Remake Learning Days here in Pittsburgh and in other places around the country. We're always focused on the learners themselves. The learner is at the core of all of this work. And as we think about that learner, really trying to connect learners to all of the places where they learn. We often hear these phrases, learning anywhere, anytime, any pace. We're trying to really live that out and help to educators and parents and families and caregivers and the learners themselves tap what's available in the community. Because we've identified this profile that we want for our learners to be able to activate their critical thinking, to be remarkable questioners of what it is that our systems have created, to connect in all the places where they learn and to connect with deep and caring relationships. So it's really connecting what's timeless about learning with new ways of learning. There are all sorts of ways to connect with Remake Learning on the web and via social media. And along the way, we've also produced a playbook that we've used to improve our own efforts, but also communities like Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill in North Carolina, or Fremont, California, or maybe some colleagues there in New Zealand have used to identify how it is that we create a learning ecosystem, a learning cluster, a learning city. And there are lots of other publications designed to support that. So I'm going to stop right there because that was certainly a whirlwind. And I just wanted to give you a taste of the network broadly before we dive into some more specific subject matter.